it. Let's go get it. Are we best friends? Tell the audience. We're best friends. Yes. Are we best friends? Oh, we're so best. I got hair in my face, in my lips. Hungry hippos. I did my makeup. Look at how beautiful.
Should I undo it?
No.
Like, can you come back and yours all messed up?
Why is the coffee always gone? It's what helps me get through these videos. And the hours upon hours upon hours of editing. Reminds me of, oh, what's the movie? Pirates of the Caribbean. Where's the rum gone? Instead of rum, I drink coffee. Today's video is really just to share some of my experiences when it comes to makeup application. There are many ways of doing it. I know that face shape, skin tone, the texture of the skin, the hydration of your skin. There are so many factors involved when it comes to applying any sort of product, whether that be a powder, whether that be a cream. Really, ideally know your skin type. So for me, my routine has changed a lot over the years. I have added products, I've taken away products, I have used creams, I have used powders, and recently I have discovered some little tricks that I wanted to share, and that has really been just because I have been experimenting with not only name brands, I've been experimenting, that's a new aerialism, but I've been experimenting with drugstore products and products that I've got at my local drugstore. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is applying the basics. So as you can see on my face, I have applied my foundation. It is looking a little bit bland. There's not a lot of dimension to my facial structure right now. I have a little bit of moisturizer underneath my foundation, but I just wanted to share a few things. So the first thing that people do when they're doing their makeup is applying concealer. What my little trick is with applying concealer is only doing it not under the entire eye, but really just in the first inner part of the under eye area. What I'll do is, and I've left this completely blank canvas so that you can see, but what I'll do is I will just take the concealer and I really simply put it right on the inner corner where it almost meets the tear duct, and I will put it about halfway to this point here. Now I don't extend it any further than that. Usually put my concealer right here like this, and then I will also put it in the fold here of the nose. I find that I tend to get extremely red at that point, and then I will draw it a little bit up the bridge, and I will apply it up here as well as down the chin a little bit there. Then I'll take my handy dandy beauty blender. I got mine from my local drugstore, but you can get it online, Sephora, any of those places. And then you're just gonna wanna simply buff it in. So what I do is the skin underneath the eye is extremely sensitive, and it's actually the most transparent part of your face. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to gently, and it's in more of a rocking motion. It's a very sensitive spot, and the skin is very, very thin at that point. So you really just want to take the beauty blender and just really rock it back and forth. You don't want to tug on the eye, you don't want to drag the product outwards, you just really want to get in there and then just rock in a rocking motion. Now these inner parts are extremely tricky, so what I'll do is I'll take very clean hands and I will go into the inner corner and I will just buff that out with my fingertips. That way, if you have any makeup on the inner corner that you don't want to wreck, you're not going to get that sponge in there and take off all the makeup that you have put. So after I do that, making sure that I don't drag the product too far out, then I'll just go over and I'll start buffing out the rest of the concealer. So as you can see, I have a couple of blemishes, so I'll just take my concealer and I will put that right there. What I love about this Creamy Radiance Concealer by NARS is that it is really full coverage. It's not drying, it's not gonna cause creasing or fine lines, it's just a really nice pigmented concealer. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm gonna make sure that I buff out the chin and then up the bridge of the nose. And then I also like to just drag the concealer down a little bit towards the sides of the nose and then up to the forehead. My bangs look absolutely crazy. Now, as you can see, that has really brought a lot of light to the T-zone area. It still keeps the parameter of the face a little bit darker. So when you take your contour, it's going to really frame the face nicely. So now that I'm happy with that being blended out, I'm going to set it with my Anastasia contour kit in the vanilla shade. You know what? I'm going to use my fingers today. That's what that looks like. It really sets the under eye nicely. So make sure that you're doing a patting motion as to not disturb the skin on the under eye. I'm just going to take that and run it under the eye, a little bit in the corners just to set that, a little bit up the bridge of the nose, just to really get that highlight. I really enjoy putting it up the bridge and then a little bit on the chin. So as you can see, you don't have to go really crazy with any powders, especially since I've mentioned on so many occasions that I have extremely dry skin, and it's really frustrating because I feel like the product doesn't really sink into my face very well unless I have a moisturizer. Then I do a radiance serum, then I do some sort of primer, then I do the prep on my skin for whatever other facial products I want. It is so frustrating, and I can't express enough that finding a good powder like this that doesn't cause those fine lines, it's definitely a godsend. So as you can see, my face already has a little bit of dimension. It's added a lot of light to the inner corners, and I'm loving how that's looking right now. Another trick that I have is when you're doing contouring, really focus on your face shape. That is the most important part to adding a contour. Using a bronzer is completely different. That's to add a little bit of a tan bronzy look to the skin. You're not really trying to chisel out any of your features. You're just trying to kind of mute out the foundation and make sure you add a little bit of color, a little bit of flush to your face. So keep in mind, do not mix up bronzer and contour. They are two completely different things, and they're used for two completely different purposes. So one thing that I've noticed with contouring is having the correct brush is crucial. I have been using my I think this is Real Techniques. Yeah, my Real Techniques contouring brush. It has a little bit of a more kabuki shaped brush, and I really liked it because it was able to get right into the cheekbone area. But what I didn't realize is I have a very narrow face. It's more oval. My chin goes a little bit more to a point, and what I've been experiencing is I don't really need to do any contouring. I don't want to bring my face inwards. That makes the face look a little bit more concaved, and it's not a very attractive look. So instead of doing the full contour where I'll start from, if you smile where the apples of your cheeks are, it usually starts about here for contour. You want to make sure it doesn't go towards the lip area. Just, you're supposed to be pulling it back to give that more of a facelift look. So instead of doing it right down here, what I'll do is I'll just apply a little bit of contour right here near the top of my cheekbone and then towards the hairline. And I do it very softly for many reasons, because I want to make sure that it doesn't look too prominent. But I'll take this more of a neutral kind of taupey shade here, and I'll just go in to add a little bit of definition, and I will buff that out. So it adds a little bit of color to the face, a little bit of color to the cheek. And then one crucial mistake that people make as well is that they bring the contour downwards. What you want to make sure you do is you have that nice crisp clean line that draws the attention upwards, and you want to blend it upwards if anything. So I'll just take my brush and I'll do it in circular motions and then upwards. I'll just bring the product up towards my eye, and you don't want to do too much. So I'm going to do that on both sides of my face, and I'm going to make sure that I keep it higher and up towards the hairline. So as you can see, it's add a little bit of color. There's not too much. It's not looking muddy. It's not mixing in with my concealer, and it's just adding a little bit of dimension to the face. So I'm just going to keep doing that, making sure everything is blended in. As you can see, I just made that mistake. I brushed the product downwards a little bit, but you can take a powder and make sure that you apply that underneath to crisp up that line again. So now I just usually not too far up, but I'll just kind of brush it where you would apply a little bit of blush. And then also what I like to do is I will take it and I will put it in my temple area. So I'll take a little bit of product, put that in the temple area here, along the upper part of my forehead, and then I will also drag the product down a little bit, not too much, just the extra product on the brush, drag it downwards, and then again in the temple area. And I really like to put it right diagonally from the brow, right here in this area, because I find that if you don't do that, you only contour the cheek, there's gonna be an area here where it doesn't connect, and it makes the face look a little bit strange. So I always want to make sure that I'm blending it out in the sides. And then I do a little bit on the jawline. So I'll just take my contour, and like I mentioned, filming purposes, guys. Like I mentioned, I have a very, very prominent jaw. So I'm not going to be wanting to contour that area very much, but I'll just take the excess product off the brush, and then I'll go underneath and really highlight underneath the jaw area, up towards the ear, and then onto the other side as well. And then I like to drag the contour a little bit down my neck to add a bit of color there as well. And then that's what that looks like. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. There's not too much product on the brush, so it's not looking really muddy. It's looking nice and crisp and clean. So after I'm done my contour, another trick that I've learned over the years is I was applying the blush in the completely wrong area of my face. So what I was doing was I was taking my blush brush and I was really putting it more so where the contour is supposed to be, as opposed to putting it on the apples of your cheeks. You want to make sure that you're not mixing products into each other. You still want to be able to differentiate between where the contour is, where the highlight is, where the blush is, etc. So I'm just going to take my Becca. This is one of my favorite blushes. It's the Dahlia Luminous Blush. And this one is highly, highly pigmented. So as you can see, it has some flecks in it. It's not completely matte. It has a little bit of glitter. It's more of a red undertone as opposed to the pinkish blushes that I usually go for, but you really need a light hand with this. So I simply just dip it in my blush, knock off the excess, smile, and then you're gonna put it more towards the nose area. So you're gonna smile, and then you're gonna really just gently massage that into the skin. It gives such a beautiful little flush to the face. So as you can see, now that I have my contour, it was looking more so that the parameter of my face was really dark. It was light on the inner areas of my face, and then it was kind of muted towards this part. So you're just gonna wanna make sure you add some sort of color to that area of the face. And then less is more, so if I need a little bit more product, then I'll just go back in, hit off the excess, and then I will try to build. You just really want to build the product as opposed to having a heavy hand initially, and then that way you don't have to take it off, you can just apply more. You don't see the lines, you can't see where my blush starts and then my contour starts. You can see that it's really diffused. I have a lot of product here, but I've decided that blending it out and bringing it towards the cheek area really helps everything to match together. One other thing that I wanted to mention as well when it comes to contouring is finding a really good brush. So I have changed, now that I've changed my style with contouring, from using such a small brush like this, where you really get a lot of product, to using a powder brush like this. This is one of my favorites. It's the Sephora Pro Flawless Light Powder Brush 50. So it's more of a fanned brush, but it's really good with any sort of powder that you might want to use. And what I'll do is, it covers more surface area. What I like to do too is I can turn it into a fan brush with my fingers. So I still get that definition on the sides of the face, but it really hits the temple area nicely. Now it's time for me to go and enjoy a nice Netflix movie, or maybe play some piano, come up with some more creative content to put into my videos. Stay safe, stay happy, and we will talk to you soon.